and all, and welcome back to another reading of Scum Villain Self-Saving Scum Villain Self-Saving System. I am on a dimension 20 high. Don't come for me. This is I don't know why you would come for me. I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna shut up. Let's move on. Maybe you can be bedtime story to me. Right. Yes, of course. Bedtime everyone get tucked in. It is bedtime story. Hee thank you. It is bedtime. Get your blankie. If you need a late night snack, go and get some. Maybe some tea. Just like me. Oh yeah, didn't burn myself. Anyway. Hi, guys. Hi. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit wacky today. I woke up a couple hours ago. I did get high yesterday because I wanted to. I don't know why I have to say that. What other reason? Okay, anyway. So I'm a little I want to say topsy-turvy, but I don't even know what that means. Anyway. It's not even a lot. It just goes over to the next day a little bit. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know if I should have been talking about that like the first couple of sentences, but oh well. You streaming at the wrong time is weird. I don't like it. Listen, every time's gonna be the wrong time. Get used to it. No, I don't. It's just that it's the way that it is. It's just that it's the way that it is. You know, I might eventually try to fix my sleep schedule, but here's the thing. I have literally a sleep disorder. I have a couple sleep disorders. But yeah. This is just what we're living with. Anyway, we are on chapter 4 called Conference on page 191. Oh, yay. What happened last time is Lil Binka manipulated our Dream Daddy to not necessarily be his master, but also to help him with his demon blood. Oh wait, does he know that he has demon blood in him yet? Wait, I don't remember. Whatever. We know that he has demon blood anyway. Anyway, shall we get started? By the way, I'm on the 382 followers on Twitch. That's crazy! We're almost at 400. That's crazy. That's actually insane to me. I feel like yesterday I just hit 300. Anyway, let's get started. My favorite book ever. Time flew like an arrow, the sun and moon alternating back and forth like a weaver's shuttle. Shen Qingqiu really didn't want to use such a worn-out saying, but he just couldn't find a better phrase. Every day on Qingjing Peak, he played the guqin, read books, wrote calligraphy, painted paintings, practiced his cultivation, occasionally nitpicked Luo Binka's food, occasionally bickered or sparred with Lu Qingge, and from time to time reported on his work to Yue Qingyuan. The days flew by, perfectly in sync with his life goal of idling away to a ripe old age. Until the Immortal Alliance Conference finally arrived. In the end, this day really did dawn. Shen Qingqiu had been too carefree, he'd forgotten about the first major climax of the novel, the first step of Luo Binka's climb to the top on his journey to marrying every ideal woman, as well as his first step toward his blackened heart, after which his soul would never again be washed clean, and he would actually manage to forget it. So when Shen Qingqiu received the gilded invitation, he stared at it in shock for a long time. The Immortal Alliance Conference was Proud Immortal Demon Wei's first major climax. At the same time, it was also an important turning point in the novel. The conference was held once every 4 years, and it was excellent opportunity for cultivators to pick out new talent, or for said new talent to establish their reputation. Before every conference, the major sect leaders conducted discussions, and an exact structure of the proceedings differed. What? And the exact structure of the proceedings differed, but there was always a list of the top rankers. Whether you came from a prestigious sect or from the poorest parts of the Jianghu. As long as your performance at the conference was outstanding, your name would be inscribed in gold upon a tablet, and you would become renowned across the land. Renowned. Before this event, Proud Immortal Demon Way's performance online had been steadfastly lukewarm, but once the Immortal Alliance conference arc debuted, the reviews, comments, subscriptions, and tips all soared in from the heavens. Soared into the heavens? It wasn't only because from that point forward, Great Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky abandoned the last of his already minimal moral principles and poured woman upon woman into the story, adding interminable sections of titillating descriptions and blush-inducing, barely legal passages, one after another. There was another important it factor. It was, in fact, the main element that had first compelled Shen Qingqiu to follow the novel until the end. The demonic beasts! The reason Great Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky, an author who hadn't even properly researched cultivation settings and was often confused as to whether characters were at the foundation establishment or nascent soul stages, rarely received straight man scolds on this element was because the cultivation setting wasn't the selling point of his novel. Instead of being categorized as a cultivation novel, Proud of Normal Demon Way should have been called a monster fighting novel. The fighting component was outweighed by the cultivation component. As a cultivation novel, it was out and out filled with landmines, but as a monster handbook, it was pretty entertaining. To the point, very soon, Shen Qingqiu would directly face those savage monsters who came in all shapes and sizes, as described in the book. Hi, Airways. More importantly, very soon, it would be time for him to personally, mercilessly, strike Lo Binghe, his demonic heritage revealed, into the endless abyss. The gears of fate, aka the plot, had already started to turn. Shen Qingqiu was silent for a long time. He finally tossed the invitation into Mingfan's arms for him to file away. Lo Binghe was receiving Meng Mo's guidance within the dream realm every day, and he was progressing at lightning speed. He had long since assumed responsibility for many things. Shen Qingqiu often happily assigned some of Sangchong Mountain's trivial internal tasks to him. Once he became older, he had also been tossed missions to eliminate demons or help people down the mountain, in part so that he wouldn't spend every day tagging after Shen Qingqiu. Though Shen Qingqiu was comfortable being waited upon, he wasn't sure if Lo Binghe's development had gone awry or something. Wasn't he sticking to his master a little too closely? Shen Qingqiu would often wonder, was it because I doted on him too much? Should I besmirch myself a little, as appropriate, to prove to the system that I'm firmly a villain? Sorry, that line sucked. If things kept going as they were, he was afraid that when the time came, he would be unable to harden his heart and throw Lo Binghe into the endless abyss. However, though Shen Qingqiu told himself this, every time he finished thinking about it, the next time he saw Lo Binghe, and that pure and innocent face, that hard-working figure, he would always, immediately, praise him out of habit. You finished copying the scrolls. Rescued the people, found the things, are you done cooking? Well done. After that praise, he'd forget his original intentions. Mingfan filed the invitation away and saw that Shen Qingqiu's complexion wasn't especially good. It occurred to him that since the stinking brat Lo Binghe had gone down the mountain, Shizun had only picked at the kitchen's fare. In the last few days, he hadn't eaten properly at all. Shizun, shall this disciple prepare some congee? Ming Fan asked. Shen Qingzhou really had no appetite and waved him away. No need. You can go. Ming Fan didn't dare to say more, and he obediently took his leave, but his heart flooded with tears. In the last couple of years, that brat Luo Bingke had become Shizun's absolute favorite. He's so weak to Luo Bingke. He is. From the start. Hello, Mothman. Welcome in. You know, eventually I'm gonna get YouTube chat up on my screen. That was on my to-do list. I need to do that. I'll do that in a bit. Shizun's absolute favorite. I can't serve Shizun even a single mouthful of kanji. Notably, whoa, I said that weird. Notably, Ming Fan didn't consider that perhaps the issue was with his own cooking skills. After some time, more footsteps approached. Didn't I say there was no need? Shen Qingzhou asked. This disciple rushed a considerable distance, all the way from the outer provinces, and Shizun won't give me even a single glance before refusing me. The voice was gentle and clear, and it even carried a hint of teasing dismay. Upon hearing it, Shen Qingzhou almost fell to the ground, along with his chair. He jerked his head around. A 17-year-old youth, slim and tall and graceful, dressed in white robes, lips turned upward in a hint of a smile, gazed at him with a pair of shining eyes. The long sword on Luo Bingke's back was Zhengyang, drawn from Wangjian Peak. Its name, Righteous Sun, completed the current Luo Bingke's temperament well. Complemented the current Luo Bingke's temperament well. The sword's blade glistened with a sacred light, and it was a good, high-quality weapon. When Luo Bingke had pulled it from the rock wall, it had elicited a wave of surprised exclamations and praise from various sect members. But compared to Luo Bingke's true personal sword, it was a toothpick. Shen Qingzhou composed himself. Why have you returned so quickly this time? Luo Bingke sat in the seat next to his and steadily poured a cup of tea, then pushed it toward Shen Qingzhou's hand. The disaster wasn't difficult to handle. I also missed Shizun terribly, so I rushed back without stopping to rest. These words sounded rather slick and insincere, but since Luo Bingke was the male lead, he had the ability to make the slickest of smooth-talking matchlessly warm and genuine. On Shen Qingzhou, this attack was super effective. Shen Qingzhou picked up that cup of tea and took a sip. It was a fragrant snowy mountain blend plundered from Chongding Peak, but he couldn't taste it at all. The Immortal Alliance Conference is about to begin, he said. Luo Bingke had known about this. Would you like this disciple to draft a list of Qingjing Peak's participating disciples and give it to Shizun to check? These past couple of years, Shen Qingzhou had handled all manner of miscellaneous tasks, big and small, to Luo Bingke to deal with. Okay, my bad. After all, for now, Luo Bingke was so sweet, obedient, and useful, his work thorough and meticulous. Shen Qingzhou could think of absolutely no reason why he should do these things himself. I love him. And there's an illustration. Let me get that up. Oh, he's so cute. Are you kidding me? Look at him. Look at them. These bitches are gay. Luo Bingke is never getting over his first love. Look at that. Look at them. Ugh. I'm gonna keep that up for a while until the scene changes. Okay. Before finalizing anything, Luo Bingke always conscientiously asks Shen Qingzhou to look over his work and check for any problems. Shen Qingzhou always wanted to say, "Actually, you don't need me to check it. Seriously, you're much better at handling these things than I am." Instead, Shen Qingzhou said, When you finish the draft, report directly to Jiangman Shishong. Lo Binghe nodded. He had more to say, but he sensed something slightly off. Shen Qingzhou seemed to be paying extra attention to him today. He couldn't help but smile. Why does Shizun keep looking at me? He asked. Could it be that this disciple was gone for so long that Shizun also missed him? Am I not allowed to look at someone I've raised? Asked Shen Qingzhou. Lo Binghe chortled. Of course Shizun is allowed. Am I pleasing to look at? What a... This guy. This little bitch. Shen Qingzhou shook his head without smiling, and he considered his next words. Binghe. Yes? Lo Binghe's expression instantly turned serious. He had realized that Shen Qingzhou had something important to say. Shen Qingzhou stared into his eyes. Do you want to become stronger? Stronger until you are without rival, until no one beneath the heavens would dare challenge you. Lo Binghe had possessed an answer to this question for a long time now. Sitting squarely, without the slightest hesitation, he looked straight back. Yes. This resolute answer made Shen Qingzhou release a breath of relief within his heart. Even if in order to achieve that, you had to suffer through pain, torment, and countless tribulations to the point that your body and heart were about to collapse, would you still want to become the strongest? Binghe does not fear suffering and tribulations, Lo Binghe said slowly. Oh. I only wish to be strong enough to protect the people and things important to me. The answer finally settled Shen Qingzhou's thoughts a little. That's right, Lo Binghe, for the sake of protecting the myriad harem of jade and flower-like beauties you'll embrace in the future, you must become strong. Flower-like beauties, he says. Shen Qingzhou's heart was still unwilling, but when he remembered that this suffering was something the protagonist had to experience in order to break free from his chrysalis and become a butterfly, he had no choice but to adjust his mindset. This guy goes on and on about talking about like criticizing a fucking airplane shooting towards the skies writing. And yet in his head he says he's using all these fucking butterfly metaphors. He's so stupid. And I love MXTX for giving us that. Although he was already adept at brainwashing himself thus, it wasn't like he felt the slightest bit of happiness at the thought, just because he'd forced himself to think it so many times. And that's a scene break. I'll put that away. 3 days later, each of Sangchong... Hang on. My mic is too far away. Yeah. 3 days later, each of Sangchong Mountain's 12 peaks had prepared their participant rosters and headed to the conference. This time, the Immortal Alliance Conference was set to convene at Juedi Gorge, a rolling mountain range with complex terrain that extended for many kilometers. People of established reputation were conscious of their rank and didn't participate in the conference, i.e., they didn't compete with their juniors for the limelight. There was no need, and it would have been beneath them. Therefore, the 12 peak lords and members of their generation didn't sign up. The cap on the number of spots was nevertheless high. Naturally, the more the better, and in the end, around 100 well-equipped individuals set out in grand style for Juedi Gorge. So many people flying on their swords would have been too high profile and disturbed civilians, so they traveled by carriage. A cultivation novel where they sat in carriages and rode horses all day, Shen Qingzhou couldn't understand why airplane shooting towards the sky had stuck to this setup, but no matter how much it merited roasting, after 3 years one simply ran out of words. At this point he was numb to it. The majority chose to ride horses, their bearing heroic and valiant. However, firstly, Shen Qingzhou wasn't good at riding and didn't want to fall and break his neck. Secondly, he disdained all exposure to the wind, sun, and rain. It wasn't comfortable nor elegant, and so he wormed his way into a carriage under a crowd of watchful eyes. Someone else had long since entered the carriage before him. A big strong man like you trying to steal my spot, she said, with contempt as he lifted the curtain with his fan and slid inside. The woman, with beautiful eyebrows, a full chest, and thick, gorgeous hair, was Shan Shu Peak's master, Qi Qingqi. In the original work, Qi Qingqi and Shen Qingzhou had no real relationship and very few interactions. However, over the past I turned the page and it fucked me up. Over the past few years, Shen Qingzhou had occasionally worked with her. He found her straightforward and fierce, and he got along with her decently well. I am frail and indisposed, Shen Qingzhou said with perfect composure as he used his fan to shoo her into giving him room. Qi Qingqi moved to do so, but she refused to spare him her words. Pampered and spoiled, being so delicate and coddled is totally unbefitting of a cultivator at core formation stage. Will you also be needing someone to serve you snacks later? Shen Qingzhou looked like he'd just had an epiphany. Right. Many thanks to Shimei for the reminder. I love him. While speaking, he rapped on the carriage wall with his vanguard. A short while later, the carriage curtains lifted. Luo Binghe smiled. Shizun, snacks water? Or is it your waist sore? What? Or is your waist sore? I don't think he's... Okay. I'm not gonna say what I can say. A lively and energetic white horse, a handsome and extraordinary youth. With the sun beaming down from above, both seemed to shine before their eyes. Your Qi Shishu would like some snacks, said Shen Qingzhou. Luo Binghe immediately withdrew an exquisitely wrapped snack from his robe and offered it to them. It looked like he'd long been prepared for this. If Shizun has any more orders, please call for me. Only then did he let down the curtain. Lu Qingge spurred his horse on past them with a powerful and resounding humph. Of course, said Shen Qingzhou. He lowered his head and opened the wrapping. Dragon's beard candy, not bad. He turned to pass the snack to Qi Qingqi. Want some? Qi Qingqi found it difficult to describe her current emotional state. More or less, it was indignation. Luo Binghe was a good disciple, so considerate and with such immense spiritual energy, and Shen Qingzhou, of all people, was the one who had raised him. In truth, indignation didn't cover it. She just didn't know where there was a phrase that nailed the feeling, and it was, my damn dog eyes. Footnote. Originally, this is blinding my dog eyes. Dog is commonly used as a curse similar to damn in English. Okay, so like... I don't know. I don't know what the equivalent would be, really, in English. What, like my eyes burn? Like, it's like, oh, I don't know. Qi Qingqi refused to look at Shen Qingzhou as he ate the Dragonbeard's candy, and she made one final attempt. Hi, Lillian. Welcome. Who is speaking? Wait, hang on. Okay. Even Ming Yan is riding a horse. As long as she could make Shen Qingzhou feel a scrap of shame, she would claim victory. It just so happened that Shen Qingzhou had nothing better to do, so he looked outside. Indeed, Lu Mingyan sat straight on her horse, her face covered with a veil, her personal sword, Xue Si, on her back. A faint breeze blew by, fluttering the veil and giving her an air of ethereal lightness. This picture was far too pleasing to the eye. Shen Qingzhou couldn't help but gaze at her for a while, sighing. Beautiful beyond comprehension. Pah! Qi Qingqi snapped at his face. Don't look at my beloved disciple with such covetous eyes. Lobinka heard this back and forth, and his face paled. But Shen Qingzhou didn't notice his expression at all and continued eating while gazing at Lu Mingyan. He was in the mode of someone in a theater before a movie, eating popcorn and drinking soda while waiting for the ads to end and the film to begin. That was Lu Mingyan. The male and female leads were in the same venue. How could there not be sparks flying and amorous feelings budding between them? As Lo Benghe saw his master staring fixedly at Lu Mingyan, the hand with which he held his reins couldn't help but tighten, the knuckles turning white. Beautiful, who is okay. My God, Lo Benghe. Beautiful beyond comprehension, he muttered. She wasn't even showing her entire face. No matter how beautiful she was, could she be better looking than him? He's just a kid. This guy. Lord Binghe honestly wasn't a narcissist. He'd just always been very self-aware of how he looked to others. He didn't gleefully revel in his appearance, but he also wouldn't downplay it for the sake of false humility. After a long time, during which Shen Qingzhou showed no signs of diverting his gaze, Lo Binghe could no longer stand it. He lightly urged his mount with his whip, and the white horse quickly moved forward until its bridle was even with Lu Mingyan's. Lo Binghe inclined his head and smiled in greeting. Lu Shimei. Lu Mingyan, startled, then nodded shallowly, returning the greeting. Lo Shishong? Oh my God. Oh, it started! A once-in-a-lifetime chance had actually come. With his own eyes, Shen Qingzhou could watch a peerlessly handsome man and a beautiful woman from a book ride together bridle to bridle. He was secretly overjoyed, and he couldn't resist leaning out further to watch. Lo Binghe saw in his peripheral vision that Shen Qingzhou's gaze hadn't moved, and in fact, he was staring at them even more intently. His face grew shadowed, his heart stuffy, and teeth itchy. So he laughed and chatted with Lu Mingyan while sneakily urging their horses faster and faster until they were far enough away that Shen Qingzhou could no longer see them without leaning his whole torso out of the carriage. Shen Qingzhou could only resume his proper seat, disappointed. How could he forget? When male and female leads were cooing sweetly at each other, a third wheel could never hang around like a glaring fluorescent light, nor could there be a meddlesome audience. Although, if that child had grown up so far that he wanted to hide his If that child had grown up so far that he wanted to hide his romances from his elders, was it possible that his rebellious stage had finally arrived? Yippee! That's a scene break. Let's see. What is the next scene break? I think for the break, because I will have to take a break in the middle of the stream, I'm just gonna have to sorry. I'm just gonna sorry, I just love them. I'm just gonna have to stop in the middle of it. And also I might have to stop in the middle of it this chapter anyway at the end of the stream, because there is no good. Oh well, yeah, there's a scene break there, but that's so far away. It's so far away. We'll see how far we make it today. Anyway, moving on. Juedi Gorge. It spanned 7 mountain peaks and overflowed with verdant greenery. Scattered every which way within it were bright springs and dark rivers, waterfalls and wondrous stones, deep valleys and soaring peaks. As the name Hopeless Land implied, some of its terrain represented the brink of despair. Yet in the next moment, as if confirming that every cloud had a silver lining, you would spot paths winding through the peaks. Indelible and unerasable. What? Indelible? I don't know what that means. In Chen Qingzhou's eyes, such a reminder was vital for both adventurers and homebodies. The new talent participating in the conference followed the agreed upon arrangements and stood in well ordered rows surrounding a gigantic natural stone platform before the gorge. Disciples from the 4 great cultivation sects made up the main share of participants. Sangchong Mountain was in the lead, followed closely by Jiaohua Monastery. Jiaohua Monastery, Tianyi Temple, and Huanhua Palace. Of the 4 sects, Sangchong Mountain was the most comprehensive. The 12 peaks each had their own strengths in a variety of fields. Meanwhile, the monastery and temple sects were naturally those who fostered Buddhist monks and Taoist priests respectfully. Huanhua Palace was more complicated. Their sect followed the teachings of a number of different schools, had an aptitude for the Taoist art of concealment, and interacted the most with the secular world. The level of their techniques was unclear, but on one point there was no doubt. They were absolutely the wealthiest of the sects. They contributed the most funds in every conference. Other than these 4, numerous small and mid-sized sects were already participating. Therefore, the final number of those who had signed up and gathered at Juedi Gorge was well over 1,000. What had been a cold and silent gorge entrance suddenly burst to life with more than 1,000 people. Animals that had never seen people before were all frightened away. It was unusually lively, in all meanings of the word. A high dais A high dais had been constructed at the entrance to the gorge, and from there all the non-participating cultivators would observe the battles. Various colored flags represented each of the sects, fluttered and varied colored flags representing each of the sects fluttered and swayed upon it. Seats for the sect leaders were at the highest level. Sangchong Mountain's delegation, led by Yue Qingyuan, took their place on the dais. I will get that word right eventually. Dice? Dice? Bruh, I don't know. Shen Jingzhou sat in the back next to an elderly man of great poise and a head of white hair. The man had greeted their group earlier and nodded to him again now. Immortal Master Shen, he said. Huanhua Palace's old palace master was also the master of Luo Binghe's birth mother. Shen Jingzhou returned the greeting in the mode of someone meeting the emperor's relative. Not long after, a member of Huanhua Palace walked onto the stone platform. After all, they'd contributed the most money, so no one could argue with their choice of host. Below the platform, the over 1,000 competitors gradually quieted, focusing their attention on listening to the host describing the proceedings. The host's martial foundations were deep, his breaths plentiful and long-lasting. Every last person at the mouth of the gorge, including those on the soaring dais, could clearly hear his voice in full. The conference will last for 7 days. Once everyone enters this gorge, we will erect a giant barrier and cover the entirety of Juedi Gorge. For those 7 days, the participants who enter Juedi Gorge will be isolated from the outside world and will remain ignorant to what happens there. The observers will follow the situation within via the spirit eagles let loose above the valley. Over 100 varieties of demonic creatures have been loosened within the valley. The total number nears 5,000. Every time you take down a creature, you will receive a prayer bead from its body. The creatures are of different difficulty levels, and the spiritual chi within the prayer beads will likely vastly differ. Is everyone wearing a gold cord around their wrists? The people beneath the platform raised their wrists together, revealing a sea of gold cords. It was quite a magnificent sight. The host continued. When you obtain a bead, thread it onto the cord. Your scores will automatically be displayed on the ranking chart outside. The ranking charts were displayed opposed the dais. Can someone tell me how to fucking pronounce that word? Because it's not happening. Hi, Shalyn. Welcome. It is indeed scum time. Scum! Dice. Dice? Is it pronounced like dice? Or is it dice? I really want to say dias, but that doesn't make any sense. Because it's D-A-I-S. Anyway. The ranking charts. Deus? Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. The ranking charts were displayed upon the dais. You see, now that I say that, that I should have known that from the start. Like, I know what that is. Although there were 8 charts in total, the crowd's attention would be squared on the names of the top 100 scores on the first. What? On the first goal? Oh my god, okay. I'm redoing that. Although there were 8 charts in total, the crowd's attention would be squared on the names of the top 100 scores on the first gold inscribed tablet at the top. And at times, they would be watching only the top 10. This embodied the principle of no first place among scholars, no second place among martial artists. Footnote, scholars must uphold modesty and so can't claim first place, while martial artists are all about competition and so only first place matters to them. Okay. Finally, the Huanhua Palace hosts delivered a severe warning. Sect disciples are forbidden from fighting over and stealing each other's beads. The moment anyone is found to be fighting or using underhanded methods to steal beads, their right to participate will be revoked and they will be banned from the conference for 3 sessions. 3 sessions meant 12 years. This group of new talent was like a mix of carp and dragons. Many were young and inexperienced, but quite a few were slippery old bastards, scoundrels who'd scurried about for years and years. If duels weren't forbidden, the organizers had reason to fear that the entire conference would devolve into incomparable chaos, and lives must well be lost. Therefore, this rule was exceptionally necessary. God. Shen Qingzhou was bored to the point that his bones itched. Ooh, don't I know that feeling? Though he seemed to be staring intently at the scene beneath him, his mind had long since wandered off. Suddenly, from the side, several female members of a certain sect leader's entourage whispered amongst themselves. Which sect is the disciple from? He's incredibly handsome. Those white robes really suit him, maybe even better than they do Gongyi Shishong. Gongyi mentioned! But Gongyi Shishong isn't just extraordinarily handsome, he also possesses incredible spiritual strength. How can you compare them? Tut tut. You just can't stand when anyone criticizes Gongyi Shishong, can you? Sure enough, you defend him right away. Admit it. Admit what? Stupid girl. What did you just say? I dare you to say it again. A burst of mortified, frustrated anger was followed by giggling play-fighting. As soon as he'd heard them, Shen Qingzhou knew who they were eyeing. The figure in the crowd dressed all in white. The refined, outstanding Luo Bingke. Because you just know that some people were doing that from Huanhua during their prior generation, and then probably when Shenju did it, they banned. Oh my god, you're so right. You're so right. That pisses me off. That pisses me off so much. Goggy the baby! Goggy the baby! He's... I'm not gonna say anything about him. We don't even know him yet. Anyway. Who is this mysterious man? In truth, they weren't the only ones secretly watching and discussing him. Even a number of girls in the crowd of participants below the stone platform were glancing stealthily at Lord Binka, their jade-like cheeks dusted with blushing red. The girls kept their voices very low, but given the quality of cultivators present, their 5 senses all incredibly sharp, of course they were overheard. These girls were too young to be careful, and they let others hear their private conversations. Fortunately, their seniors were all very considerate and let their sect leader, who was already holding a hand to his forehead and feigning sleep, keep his dignity. Everyone pretended that they hadn't unintentionally eavesdropped, their gazes straight and unflinching. In an effort to break the awkward pall, someone coughed twice. Why don't we do as we have before and make our predictions about which of these new talents will stand out the most? He said with a smile. Shen Qingqiu's spirits rose. The words "make our predictions" weren't actually referring to divining fortunes, but instead to gambling. To be clear, it was about betting on the talent you had your eye on. Cultivators needed entertainment too, after all. Also, the stakes used in these bets weren't tacky monetary items like gold and silver, but artifacts, spirit stones, and even the names of disciples who would be sent to study under other sects. That is crazy. They also wouldn't be anything of vital importance, but it was still one of the Immortal Alliance Conference's traditional entertainment activities. Muscle cramp under on my rib? Weird. That's fun. Such a weird area. I was drawing a lot earlier, so maybe that's the problem. Chen Qingqiu probably. I will bet 1 kissy on the forehead of Loving. I mean, oh my god. He loves him so much. It's fine. Where was I? Anyone as dignified as a first-class sect leader like Yue Qingyuan had to be conscious of their status and wouldn't indulge in things like this. But naturally, many others were willing to join the fun. A short moment later, the dais was roaring with enthusiasm, dozens of bets being laid. Quite a few bet on their own disciples. For example, Qi Qingqi bet on Lu Mingyan's victory. Shen Qingqiu didn't even need to think, and straight away he bet 5,000 spirit stones on Luo Bingke. Such a daring move caused quite a ripple. Even Yue Qingyuan paused in his polite exchange of greetings with the abbot from Jiaohua Monastery, his gaze shifting toward Shen Qingqiu. Shen Qingqiu saw the way Yue Qingyuan seemed about to speak, but didn't. Jiangmen Shishong, this is just a bit of fun, he said, to encourage Binghe a little. It's fine. Just for fun, Lu Qingge sneered. If you shattered that entirety of Qingjing Peak, would you even find 1,000 spirit stones in the rubble? Shen Qingqiu clammed up. Indeed, he wouldn't. When placing a bet here, you only needed to write it down. The accounts were settled afterward, and you didn't need proof of funds. Because everyone here had name and reputation, there was no fear that debt would be blown off. Shen Qingqiu knew that betting on Luo Bingke was a sure win, and so he had raised the stakes. After all, no one else knew exactly how many assets he possessed. Yue Qingyuan was probably afraid of the sect being embarrassing before outsiders, and he rushed to smooth things over. All right, lower your voices. Of course there would. Jiangmen Shishang, you'll be his guarantor? Qi Qingqi butted in, getting right to the point. I will, said Yue Qingyuan. I said that so bad. He would say it like this, actually. I will. I'm sorry. We have to know the kind of person that he is, and I said that too hesitantly, so I need to the voice acting in me. I need to, said Yue Qingyuan. If you lose, who pays? Lu Qingge asked. Me, said Yue Qingyuan. If I win, who keeps the payout? Asked Shen Qingqiu. You, said Yue Qingyuan. An agreement was reached, and everyone other than Lu Qingge rejoiced. Shen Qingqiu happily went to make his bet. Vendarus Minotaurus, I'm here to break some Neko kneecaps. Hey! Hey, no kneecaps breaking allowed. What the hell? What the fuck? Also, how am I supposed to refer to you? That's a mouthful. Vendarus. Vendarus. Sounds like a dinosaur name. I'm sorry. It does. It does. You know that it does. The gathered cultivators quietly wondered why they'd never heard of Lord Binka. You couldn't really blame them. The current Lord Binka's modus operandi was low-key and modest. As he was unwilling to claim credit. Every time he did a good deed or completed a task, he quietly took his leave. This prevented his reputation from growing, so his skills and talent had never shown. Those unaware of the situation assumed Shen Qingqiu was doing exactly as he'd claimed and just making a show of good faith to encourage his disciple. Below the dais, after the participants took their oath together, they formally entered the venue. There were many of them, so 12 different entrances had been erected, through which the participants would enter in assorted groups of mixed sex. The participants, shaking with nerves, stepped into Juedi Gorge and began their expeditions. On the dais, the members of the older generation, who'd long since achieved success and made their reputations, had finished their round of betting. They sat with unruffled composure, some of them even exchanging pointers, chatting, or chewing on melon seeds. Within the venue flew more than 100 spirit eagles controlled by experts. The silver rings around their talons were inlaid with special crystals. As they soared, a panoramic view of the people and scenery below was projected onto the dais's numerous crystal mirrors, that effect similar to that of surveillance equipment. I get called many things: Vendar, Vendaru, Vendaris, Mino, call me whatever, just don't call me late to dinner. Okay. Okay. Alright then. Alright then. Can I call you Venn diagram? Sorry, just... No. Scum pickup line. Are you about to be the venue for the Immortal Alliance conference? Cause you're dready gorgeous. Shut up. I'm gonna keep reading, okay? I'm gonna keep reading, and y'all are gonna be what's the word? Fuck, I don't know any words. Once I start reading words, I can't think of words. It's just the brain goes. It's on a different channel right now. I've never met you any day. Oh my god. Guys, I lost my place. Fuck. Okay, no, I didn't. Within the venue for the... Okay. What the fuck? Okay. Someone smiled from ear to ear. As expected, who is saying this? I don't know. As expected, Gong Yizhao is in first place right after entering. On the gold inscribed tablet, the first 10 names all shone with bright light. At this time, Gong Yizhao had already reached the first place position. Right after his name was the number 12. That is to say, a mere hour in, he'd already eliminated 12 demonic creatures and obtained 12 prayer beads. Even Lu Mingyan, close behind in second, had only obtained 6 prayer beads. A large gap had already appeared. A youth dressed in white was reflected on a crystal mirror. his figure elegant and unrestrained like drifting clouds and flowing water. Yet his actions were quick as lightning. In an instant, he shredded a shrilly screaming vengeful ghost into scattered smoke. Damn, that alliteration was crazy. An unceasing stream of excessive praise rose in response, and Shen Qingzhou smiled without speaking. This Gong Yi Zhao, although he looked favored and blessed, overflowing with incredible presence, actually, he was at best only $50 better than his fellow cannon fodder. Oh my god. I just actually, it's literally written ENH. He was the typical character trope who was handsome, of good lineage and surpassing talent, loved by girls, full of mettle? Mettle? M-E-T-T-L-E? I don't know what that means, and accomplished in his youth. But unfortunately, there was also a protagonist, so he was doomed to serve as the lead's cannon fodder foil. Though most bets for top ranker had been placed on Gong Yi Xiao. I know how to say Xiao. Placed on Gong Yi Xiao. Sorry to say, he would be first for long. What? He wouldn't be first for long before Luo Binghe kicked him off the spot. Luo Binghe's name was currently in the middle of the pack. The number after it was a mere 1. Yet Shen Qingzhou wasn't worried at all. He knew that once tonight arrived, and once the curtains lifted on that breathtaking climactic event, Luo Binghe's name would soar unstoppably up the charts. Metal, it's like skill, competency? Oh, okay. Nothing breaks my heart more than Shen Qingzhou dismissing a real-life ass Gong Yi Zhao as less cool finger. I know! You know what hurts even more is that his description is like, he kind of looks like Luo Binghe. He kind of looks like he kind of looks like him. Ugh. I love him. Should I pause here? For a second? Wait, okay, let's should we leave on a cliffhanger a little bit? Let's get to the end of the page so I know where I am, okay? And then we'll just have a short break. All right. The first day of the Immortal Alliance conference approached midnight. A round, golden moon hung high in the sky, and the dais gleamed bright beneath the lamplight. Among the many crystal mirrors, Shen Qingzhou finally found one displaying Luo Binghe. Currently, he was slowly moving through the forest, spotlessly clean and without a trace of exhaustion. His eyes were like stars, and it seemed as if they could see right through the crystal mirror. However, he wasn't alone. Most of the participants moved by themselves, but people teamed up to fight the monsters. If people teamed up to fight the monsters, how would they divvy up the beads? At most, they might cooperate with those they were familiar with, forming teams of 2 or 3 Shishong and Shidi. There were also some incredible female cultivators, but on the whole, these girls' strength and mental fortitude was lacking, and they often required help. Their teams were mainly composed of Shimei and Shiji, who got along well, and they spent their time playing around instead of actually working. Basically, they looked quite hopeless. Yes, okay. Yet following after Luo Binghe were 7 or 8 other individuals, and all of them were either delicate girls or young disciples. This group drew a great deal of attention. Some of the audience even stopped watching Gong Yi Zhao's heroic exploits, switching over to size up this bloated team and finding it too strange to look away. And that is what I will stop for a break. I know it's so awkward, but yeah, and ad's about to run, so I'll see you in a minute. I will see you in just a minute. Okay, BRB. hello, I'm back. Did you miss me? Oh, you must have missed me so much. Okay. Oh, guys, do you want to see my picture I drew? Do you guys want to see what I was? Do you guys want to see what I was working on today? Working on is a word I'm not sure I would use, but welcome back. Thank you. Yeah, baby. Okay, so this is a sticker sheet that I want to do. That I want to make. This is all sketches for now, so they're very silly. There is Juji Lang, there is Shen Qingzhou with Bing Pup, there is Gong Yuzhao as like a winged creature. I'm not even sure what he is. I was thinking about it, I was like, what is Gong Yuzhao? What is his animal? Because we have animals for everyone else, right? Almost missed one, damn. And then there's Lo Binka getting a big sniff of Cat Shizun, right? And then Bing Pup and Cat Shizun. What is he called? I forget. And then there's Shang Qinghua and Snow Leopard, Mobe Jun. And then there's Mobe Jun with the tiny Hamhua. Tiny Hamhua. And then there's them being cute together. Being so cute together. And then there's Capybara. Yo Qingyuan with what's it called? Tangerines on his head. And then sorry, I forgot about this thing. I was like, listen, okay, it's like I'm gonna put this behind me actually. How do I put this behind me? Hang on. Hang on. Fuck, where did I put it? Oh my god. Oh my god, where did it go? There it is. Hang on. Oh my god, can I see shit? I hate OBS. Fucking hell. Okay. That looks weird a little bit. That kind of looks weird. That kind of looks kind of creepy. Anyway. Oh no, you can't even see it anymore. Hello? Hello, bottom. Hello, loser. Hello, Zaki loser. That's hot. Anyway, that is Tianlang Jun and Snake Jujilang, because I was like, I'm putting animal attributes to them, but Jujilang is also like Jujilang. He's like, he's already a snake guy, right? So I can make him more snake. Take your showers. I took a shower today. Fuck you. I took a shower today, bitch. Okay. And then there's Kitty Luchinga. I just think if he was a kitty, he'd be like one of those tabby cats that are like half white and half striped, you know? I think that's cute. This scale makes him look sweaty. Yeah, I know. He has feet. He has feet. It's very stupid. I'm having fun. Who's the peacock? Yeah. I want to make that. I want to make it for real. They're so silly. They're really so silly. I want to just keep that up just because. Just because it's fun. Just because. Look at my sketches. Am I behind the chat? No way. No way. Let me get in front of y'all, bitches. Okay. Alright. Animal attributes. That's good because I'm gonna go feral. Okay. Good for you. Okay, let's continue, shall we? Now my lighting looks a little weird. It's fine. It's fine. At the top of page 212. No added any sound yet in your sound alert. My sound alerts should work now. They should definitely work now. I apologize for the stupidity that is my brain, but my sound alerts do work now. Hopefully. Karma, You don't need to get me today. You've already done enough today. Anyway. Page 212. What? Comfortable. In the group, the one walking closest to Luo Bingke was a Hanhua disciple. Was a Huanhua disciple in light yellow robes, holding a night pearl to light the way. The girl was graceful and elegant, but she walked with a slight limp, like she had sprained her ankle. It was probably just an injury she had sustained while fighting monsters. Luo Shishang, I truly apologize, she said. You saved us, and now we're troubling you. If you weren't protecting us, you would be so far ahead already. We are a burden. We are all cultivators. It is our obligation to look after each other, Luo Bingke said, eminently proper. Shen Qingzhou had come to know Luo Bingke's early stage White Lotus mindset like the back of his hand, and he didn't find this strange. His student was fighting monsters while also looking after this crowd of weaker fighters, women and young disciples. Hence, he hadn't shot up in the rankings. Otherwise, with his ability, he would have already effortlessly defeated Gong Yijiao. Even Ming Fan ranked higher than Luo Bingke right now, but it didn't matter. Luo Bingke would have a second wind. My disciple is the most awesome in the world. If he weren't so good, so kind, and so easy to take advantage of, none of you could even dream of defeating him. Shen Qingzhou never thought to reflect on what this agitated attitude of his meant. Ye Qingyuan smiled. Qingzhou, that little disciple of yours has great moral character. Shen Qingzhou smiled behind his open fan, quietly accepting the compliment. Qi Qingqi humphed. Exactly. It's impossible to tell that he was the one who taught the boy. Other observers said a few additional words of praise, however they weren't necessarily sincere. What use was good moral character? The Immortal Alliance Conference valued power. In their eyes, Luo Bingke's actions seemed rather childish. But when Huanhua Palace's old palace master, sitting by Shen Qingzhou's side, saw Luo Bingke's face through the crystal mirror, he let out a barely audible, "Eh?" and almost stood up. Shen Qingzhou didn't glance over, but he understood well enough. Luo Bingke was beautiful, and he looked quite like his birth mother. Why do I keep fucking up on that word? The old palace master had seen his face, and, thinking the junior disciple's similar appearance only coincidental, had become nostalgic about his own favorite. He could scarcely have imagined that Luo Bingke was the child of precisely that beloved lost pupil. On the other side, in Juedi Gorge, Luo Bingke was calmly considering what to do with this crowd of vulnerable disciples. From a moral standpoint, he couldn't just abandon them. They were from Huanhua Palace and had barely started training, but he also didn't want to miss the chance to shine in the Immortal Alliance Conference and win honor for Shizun. As Luo Bingke was mulling over how to extricate himself from the situation, Shen Qingzhou thought he was rolling around with maidens and making sparks fly. There was the first maiden to sleep. What? There was the first maiden to sleep with Luo Bingke. Qin Wanyue, the graceful and subdued little Shimei. The biggest impression this maiden had left on Shen Qingzhou was her role in helping Luo Bingke lose his virginity. Later, her role was to be a victim in the constant harem intrigue. Only someone as special as Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky could manage to occasionally write a stallion novel's harem more in the flavor of The Legend of Zhen Huan. Footnote: English name Empress in the Palace is a 2011 television series centered on harem scheming and infighting. Watching this parade of people trailing close behind Luo Bingke, treating him like their personal savior, Shen Qingzhou grew unhappy. Some of these disciples honestly hadn't acclimated and so couldn't yet demonstrate their skills, They would be fine after a little more time to adjust, but some were truly ignorant and incompetent. Yet they refused to back out of the competition. They wanted to ride Lobinka's coattails so they could fumble together some beads and rise in the ranking. If this were the black-hearted Lobinka, he'd have slaughtered them all in seconds without even blinking. People sure do take advantage of kindness, huh? They pressed forward for a while, and every low-level monster that leapt from the darkness to attack them was eliminated with pretty much only flicks of Lobinka's fingers. His sword never left its sheath, yet he still couldn't pick up the pace. Why? A female disciple from Huanhua Palace leaned on Qin Wanyue and began to hiccup and cry. Jie, my feet hurt so much. In front, Lobinka stopped, but he didn't turn around. He lowered his head and rubbed his temples. Nervous, Qin Wanyue lowered her head and spoke quietly to the girl. One wrong. Endure it for a bit longer, all right? We have to walk a little faster. But my feet really hurt. I can't walk anymore. Wanrong Mei whined. We've been walking all day, and there's nowhere to take a bath. I'm so uncomfortable. A number of untrained disciples in the group agreed, one after another. If Shen Qingzhou had been the one in charge, he would have long since revoked their right to participate and kicked them out of Juedi Gorge. If your feet are so delicate, don't sign up for the Immortal Alliance conference. And if you do, then whatever. But why drag others down? Look at Mingyan. Look at Lu Mingyan. The difference between you is vast. No wonder she's the #1 female protagonist. But there was nothing he could do about Qin Wanrong. After all, the beautiful sisters Qin Wanyue and Qin Wanrong were members of Lobinka's harem. Therefore, according to universal connections, no matter how dedicately they dug their own graves, they wouldn't die. Airplane, you are so nasty. I hate Airplane. Qin Wanrong is like the polar opposite of Xia Hualing, who leads an army Shu-free. True. That's why we stand Xia Hualing. That's why we love her so much, even though she fucks shit up. But oh, does she fuck shit up? Anyway. Okay. Shen Qingzhou's heart filled with a strange annoyance. Lobinka, in the future, when you're gathering your harem, can you put more thought into quality? Don't welcome just any decent-looking girl into your arms. The inconsistency in your harem standards makes this master's heart hurt for you. Qin Wanyue sent another look at Lobinka's back. Little sister, she said quietly, we've already made a lot of trouble for Luo Shishong. She still wanted to rely on Lobinka and try to make a name for herself in the Immortal Alliance Conference and earn some reputation. If her sister foolishly annoyed Lobinka, it would go badly for her. Luo Shishong is such a good person, he won't mind, Qin Wanrong said innocently. Isn't that right, Luo Shishong? Lobinka finally turned, a faint smile still on his face. Peerlessly handsome, utterly faultless, and did not speak. But for some reason, Qin Wanyue, inwardly, shivered in fear. However, Qin Wanrong had cotton for brains and took his smile as acquiescence. Singing a carefree tune, she swept over a nearby creek like a gust of wind. It's coming. Shen Qingzhou's gaze tensed. Lobinka started. Given what she just said, he thought she was going to bathe. Fortunately, this little girl wasn't that eccentric, and she only took off her shoes and socks to dip her feet into the creek. Those were the river's upper reaches. What if someone downstream wanted to drink? Shen Qingzhou mentally lit a candle for any such unlucky disciples. A number of the other disciples soon followed Qin Wanrong's example, and just like that, the little crowd started to laugh and play. Lord Binghe was completely helpless as he watched. It would have been awkward to approach them, so he could only call from far away. Waiting in the water at night isn't safe. It's best we finish and leave right away. Shen Qingzhou felt this was a bit odd. In the original novel, surely Lord Binghe hadn't stood so far away. He didn't think he had remembered wrong. At this time, Lord Binghe, out of worry or out of Great Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Skies' selfish desire to write fan service, went to the creek with the others. Then he enjoyed the alluring show of all the women slowly rolling down their stockings. Textbook foot fetish material. Lord Binghe pleaded with the disciples, but a few had even crossed to the other side of the creek, chatting and laughing. It's all right, Luo Shishang. You come too. Even the sect leaders watching through the crystal mirrors were speechless. Shen Qingzhou had no expression on his face. Luo Binghe, you still won't go? If you don't, you'll miss the plot. Qin Wanyue knew her little sister was being rather inappropriate, and she cautiously apologized to Luo Binghe. Lu Shishang, I'm so sorry, she said. This is the first time Shimei and the others are participating in the Immortal Alliance Conference. Truly lovable and pitiful, she bit her lip like she was making an excruciating decision. If Luo Shishang feels burdened, leave us and go. It's all right. These words, together with that expression on the verge of tears, were wildly insincere. But after hearing her plea, any man with a bare minimum of virtue would find himself unable to do as she suggested. Even the sex. Before Luo Binghe could reply, an ear-piercing scream came from the creek. His face suddenly changed, and he shoved past Qin Wanyue, whose beautiful face had lost all color, as he dashed toward the creek's bank. The audience watched from the crystal mirrors. What can I read? The audience watching from the crystal mirrors stood in terror. What's going on? Luo Binghe asked in a forceful voice, his sword before him. 5 or 6 disciples had been washing their feet and playing in the creek. Now 2 of them had disappeared, and one of the missing was Qin Wanrong. You see? Told you that you should have gone earlier. Wonderful. A perfectly good wife is now gone, just like that. Shen Qingzhou thought, frustrated and disappointed. Now you can't complete the Qin sisters' bouquet for that grand threesome scene in the future. Now what? Airplane, you disgusting little boy. You disgusting man. Can't stand him. Of course he would, though. Of course he would. I would too. If I were in his shoes, I would do exactly the same. This is why we are like this, and I am crossing my fingers, okay? Moreover, despite everything, he'd never thought that a member of the protagonist's harem could actually get herself killed. I don't know what happened, a disciple screamed. The water suddenly turned black, and Shijie and the others were swept under by something. Luo Binghe rapidly dragged the stupefied disciples, still in the creek, up to the bank. But just as he reached out to grab the last person, they fell over like they had lost their footing. Everyone stared as the water closed over the disciples' head, and they disappeared with their eyes wide open. At the same time, a black smog billowed through the creek. Shen Qingzhou peered through the crystal mirror. The smog was actually countless black strands, smooth and silky like a woman's dark hair. From beneath the strands seeped scarlet blood, diluted by creek water. They were thicker and more disgusting than Sadako's hair, a ghostly character who appeared in the Japanese horror movie Ring, famous for her long, bedraggled hair, black hair which obscured her face. I think most of us are aware of that. Someone on the dais cried out in shock, "Nu Yuan-chan!" Nu Yuan-chan? Nu Yuan-chan! Nu Yuan-chan! What the hell? In Dready Gorge, Lobinka had quickly identified the monster in the creek as well. He sent sword glares into the water as he cried, "Get far away from the water! It's the demon realms! It's the demon realms, Nu Yuan-chan!" For a while, the billows and billows of the hair-like demonic creature's body swirled within the water. Suddenly, like they were burping after a full meal, the black strands spat out a few objects with a stream of bubbles. 3 bodies that had been sucked clean of flesh and blood, leaving only drenched corpses of skin and bone. The pores on the dead bodies were abnormally large. That was because many strands of hair were still attached to their skin, thrust into their pores, hungrily sucking out the body's remaining flesh, blood, and spiritual essence. Leaving no pore uninvaded, diving into any opening it could find. This was one of the Nu Yuan-chan's most terrifying characteristics. This scene scared the disciples by the creek witless. Wails and screams filled the forest as they threw themselves behind Lobinka to hide. At the sight of the horrible state of her sister's body, Qin Wanyue nearly fainted. "Thanks, I hate it. Me too. Luckily, she was smart enough to not faint for real. Otherwise, in all the chaos, who would bother to help her escape? Nu Yuan-chan was an amphibious creature. After sucking 3 people dry underwater, it was itching to climb the bank and search for new targets. Lobinka's expression was icily severe. He snapped his fingers, igniting a burst of flames at his fingertips. Then, boosting the flames with spiritual energy, he flicked them toward the lurking demonic beast. As soon as they touched the beast's hair like strands, and flames... As soon as they touched the beast's hair like strands, the flames flared into an inferno, forcing the black mass of hair to retreat back into the water with all speed, leaving it afraid to come into the bank. Lobinka executed this set of actions in a single smooth sequence, radiating formidable might, utterly relentless. Shenchito internally held up a sign. 10 points, Lobinka! Lobinka picks up the night pearl at Qin Wanyue. That Qin Wanyue had dropped in her panic and raised it high. Like a shining beacon, it calmed everyone's hearts. "Don't stray, stay together," he shouted. Then he took out a piece of the standard equipment all the participants had been given, a rescue firework, and fired it into the sky. The rescue fireworks were given to disciples to call for help if they encountered a monster that they were unable to handle. The Immortal Alliance Conference hadn't released any excessively dangerous monsters, and if a participant fired a rescue firework 3 times, they automatically forfeited their right to participate. Therefore, in all past conferences, no one had really used the fireworks unless they were really backed into a corner. However, at that moment, glittering bursts of fireworks rose one after another in the sky over Juedi Gorge. This should have been a beautiful scene, but at that moment, not only did these fireworks not seem gorgeous, they made the onlookers' insides twist in fear. Every blossoming firework represented a disciple who had encountered an exceedingly dreadful monster whose life was in danger. "The crystal mirrors! Look at the crystal mirrors!" Blood-curdling shrieks and wails of distress came in an unending stream from the mirrors. Some disciples were already corpses on the ground, some were still struggling, soaked with blood, gazes filled with terror. Why here? There shouldn't be. "Someone help! Shifu, save me! Shiga, save me!" Shiga. A hoarse cry burst from one mirror, followed by the mournful shriek of a spirit eagle. The picture went out, becoming a flat, black screen. Everyone stared, uncomprehending. What's going on? That hoarse cry had definitely been the cry of a demon realm bone eagle, a type of aerial demonic beast that was as fierce as it was bloodthirsty. It had no doubt torn apart the spirit eagle, shattering its crystal into dust. I should probably take this off right now. There we go. We're done with that. Oh, now I'm covering you guys. Oh no. Oh no. There we go. There we go. Everything is fine. My mouth is like, it's like dry, but like not at the same time. Okay. 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 Okay, buddy. Oh my god. Love that. Beasts that swam in the water, beasts that walked on land, beasts that flew through the air. These fierce demonic entities had absolutely not been part of the conference's plan. Though Shen Qingqiu had mentally prepared for this long ago, as he watched the all-encompassing scene of chaos play out before him, his scalp went numb and his fingers chilled. He realized that he would be able to do as he'd expected. He couldn't just pretend he was watching the climax of an ultra-realistic show. Outside Drady Gorge, pandemonium had broken out on the dais. Tian Yi Temple's cultivators said sternly, "What's happening? The demonic beasts chosen for the Immortal Alliance Conference were determined via strict rules and meticulous selection. How could something like the new Yuan Chan, which resides only in the demonic realm, find its way in?" Many Huanhua Palace disciples had already died. The old palace master shot to his feet. "Open the barrier." The giant barrier over Juedi Gorge was supported by nearly 100 monks from Jiaohua Monastery. The Jiaohua Monastery abbot immediately began to cast a long-distance transferal spell to tell the monks to release the barrier. "You cannot," Yue Qingyuan said. The old palace master started. "Sect leader Yue, what is the meaning of this?" Over 100 of Sangchong Mountain's disciples were in Juedi Gorge, yet Yue Qingyuan refused to open the barrier to let the trapped escape. Obviously, he had an exceptional reason. Shen Qingzhou had long since figured it out. He responded in Yue Qingyuan's place. "Once you release the barrier, the disciples will be able to escape, but so will the demonic beasts trapped within, and they will scatter. There are villages only a few kilometers from here. The situation would become even more grave. Sect members and disciples at least have the ability to contend with the beast, but the common people, with no spiritual energy at all." No elder or sect leader in the platform had the words to retort, and they fell into a dead silence. At this time, no matter how great one's cultivation, core formation, or nascent soul stage, or anything between, there was no way to reverse the course of events. "If we cannot open the barrier to let them out, then what should we do?" asked a cultivator at a loss. "If they can't leave, then we must enter," said Lu Qingge. Oh, sorry, I just love him so much. Every time his name comes up, I can't help but smile because I love him so much. I just love him. I just love him. The members of Sangchong Mountain exchanged a look in tacit agreement. "Fellow cultivators," Yue Qingyuan said gravely, "someone must be behind today's incident. They hope to use these demonic beasts to wipe out the new talent of the cultivation world, eliminating its future pillars in one fell swoop. For now, we can only maintain the barrier, but are any of our fellow cultivators willing to enter the gorge with Sangchong Mountain Sect to clear out the demonic beasts and rescue the participating disciples?" To carve a path of blood into the gorge, clearing out all the demonic beasts would require not only martial power, but a great deal of courage. The old palace master was the first to respond. "It would dishonor Huanhua Palace to refuse." Huanhua Palace, had sent the most participants to this year's conference and had invested the most as well. They were the party least able to take the loss. Wow. Sorry, I get burpy sometimes. Lou, we should beat up the things, Chinga. Yes! Precisely. Fists first. Fist first, Chinga. That's a new voice. Once someone took the lead, others followed, volunteering one after another. Even if a scant few cowards were in the crowd, by now they had been reminded that their own precious, talented disciples were also trapped. Shen Qingzhou stepped forward, ready to stand with the group volunteering to provide assistance, when Lu Qingge also stepped forward slightly and used his sword sheath to block Shen Qingzhou's way. Expression unchanging, Shen Qingzhou pushed the sheath aside with 2 fingers. What is the meaning of this? Your poison, Lu Qingge said succinctly. That's right, Yue Qingyuan agreed. Your ailment from without a cure has yet to be resolved. Entrust the safety of Qingjing Peak's disciples to us. If Shen Qingzhou's condition suddenly acted up after he entered Juedi Gorge, and his spiritual energy stalled while he was surrounded by swarms of demonic beasts, then neither heaven nor earth would be able to help him. Shen Qingzhou shook his head. How can a master hide and relax on a dais while his disciples are in danger? If I can't even protect my own disciples, I don't deserve to be Peak Lord of Qingjing Peak. Also, he was a vital character who needed to trigger a crucial plot point. If he wasn't on the scene, they couldn't keep filming, you know? Ding dong, system notification. Making the villain more 3-dimensional by crafting an honorable image, B points, plus 30. Shen Qingzhou internally rolled his eyes. Are you handing me a piece of candy before you stab me? Yue Qingyuan had failed to dissuade him, as had everyone else. Then, you must be careful, he said reluctantly. If you can't manage it, you must use a voice transferal spell to call us for help. Shen Qingzhou wasn't so pessimistic about his ability to handle demonic beasts. His confidence in his own cultivation and spiritual power aside, his interest in the demonic beasts of Proud Immortal Demon Way had far surpassed his interest in all those flavors of woman. He might not have remembered where any given female protagonist liked to go stargazing with Lo Binghe after being slighted, and he sometimes was unable to match names to characters, but he definitely remembered every demonic beast's attributes and weaknesses with exacting clarity. The tism's popping out in this one. His knowledge of the plot aside, if you had to call something Shen Qingzhou's golden finger, it could only be this. In Juedi Gorge, Lo Binghe had just calmed a crowd of terror-stricken junior disciples. In this sort of situation, they couldn't afford to fall into disarray. If they encountered a new demonic beast, or any of them straight off, the situation would only grow more disastrous. The night wind whipped by, carrying wails and howls from all around. It was impossible to tell if they came from human or demonic throats. The faint-hearted were already curled up and sobbing, and Qin Wanyue's face was deathly pale. But at the sight of Lo Binghe leaning against a tree, Zheng Yang clasped hilt up within his crossed arms, calm yet alert, protecting them against any attacks that came from the darkness. She couldn't stop the trace of tender fondness welling up within her. Zheng Yang. Yeah, that's his sword. That's his sword. If Shen Qingzhou were there, he would have grown incredibly excited, his gossip soul on fire. Girl, you've fallen in love with him! Suddenly, rustling noises came from the nearby shrubbery. Lobinka's gaze sharpened and he gathered spiritual energy into his palm, ready to strike. The rustling in the brush grew louder and louder, closer and closer. Everyone's hearts climbed into their throats. Perhaps they were terrified beyond belief, but not a single one let out a scream. Suddenly, there was a plop, like someone had collapsed onto the ground. A round object rolled out of the bushes. Also, any arachnophobic people, if you're here, you should leave. If you're here, you should leave. Just a note. You know what it reminds me of? I'll say it later. I'll say it later. Anyway, a round object rolled out of the bushes. I wonder what it could be. It was a human head. Both of the head's eyes were tightly closed, its face covered in blood, its hair disheveled like a chicken's nest. Normally the sight would have been frightening, but at the present, a harmless corpse head was much better than a man-eating demonic beast, so quite a few of disciples even sighed in relief. Does anyone know which sect this Shishong belonged to? Qin Wanyue asked, her voice trembling. Disciples from the various sects stepped closer to check, one after another, but all of them sighed in relief. Not one of ours. Never seen him before. Lord Binka gazed into the dark depths of the shrubbery, thinking. If the head was there, then the body was also nearby. It would be better to go check its sect uniform. He strengthened the spiritual flow in his palm and walked into the dark. As expected, a stiff corpse lay beyond the shrubbery, wearing aqua blue cultivator robes, one of Tianyi Temple's newly accepted disciples. Lobinka saw only the hem of his robes before sighing. Newly accepted disciples like this one only came to the Immortal Alliance conference to gain experience. They had never imagined that they'd be drawn into such an unpredictable catastrophe and lost their lives. He looked farther up and suddenly froze in shock. There was still a perfectly good head on top of the corpse's neck. Then where had the other head come from? Zheng Yang had already left its sheath before Lo Binghe doubled back. As its white light overflowed, he yelled, "Get away from the head!" Before he finished speaking, the head lying quietly askew on the ground suddenly opened its eyelids. It met the disciples' gaze with wide, glowering eyes, then 8 spindly spider legs, segmented and barbed, stretched forth from somewhere at the bottom of its neck, and it leapt up in a single bound. The closest person couldn't dodge in time, and the monster jumped onto the disciple's head. With a crazed howl, the disciple drew his sword and wildly swung it around, forcing everyone nearby to hurriedly duck away. Lord Binghe dared not attack carelessly in case he stabbed the disciple's head instead of the monster. The result would be too horrible to imagine. The sensation of something so terrifying crawling back and forth on your head would be enough to frighten anyone to death. In complete despair, the disciple changed the direction of his sword and swung it toward his own head. Before he could strike, those 8 spindly spider legs had found their target and ferociously speared into his temples. Ugh. Anyway, it reminds me of the thing from Toy Story, you know, the doll head spider thing. That's what it reminds me of. He went instantly stiff, and like his tongue had twisted into knots, he was unable to yell a single word. The spider legs sticking into that human head bored deeper and deeper, and the disciple's whole body began to twitch unceasingly. After only a moment, the 8 legs drew back out, leaving nothing but twin rows of gory holes on his temples. Everything within his skull had been sucked clean, leaving it completely empty. The scene was utterly horrible. Even Lord Binghe remained frozen for a while, unable to react. Having eaten its fill of brains, that human-headed spider monster crawled up and down the corpse, letting out a mournful scream like an infant's wail. This is so gross. Alright, back to flirt with Catboy JKJK. I don't know if flirting is the right thing to do at this moment. We are in a really... This moment is really nasty. You're not gonna like this. You're gonna wish you never came back. Okay. Ugh. Just then, an arrow of light, made of pure spiritual energy, flew through the night and pierced its still howling mouth, skewering a hole clean through it. Amidst the sudden silence and everyone's dazed stares, Shen Qingqiu rubbed his sore ears, slowly shook out his sleeves, and with a snap of his fan, murmured, "Shut up." Oh, he's so sexy! This arrival of his was truly quite low-key. Shizun! At the sight of Shen Qingqiu, Lo Binghe was far happier than shocked. After all, since the mayhem began, he'd anticipated that Shen Qingqiu would absolutely be so worried that he would personally enter the gorge to rescue them. Shen Qingqiu swiftly righted himself. He swept his gaze over the many disciples coming to surround him and asked, "Is anyone injured?" "Other than those Shimei at the riverside and the Shidi who died just now, we've thus far suffered no other casualties," said Lo Binghe. "You've been through a lot," said Shen Qingqiu. Lo Binghe smiled, his eyes shining brightly. "This disciple was only doing his duty." Shen Qingqiu glanced at Qin Wanyue, whose eyes were still red. "You can still smile? Smile? Don't you know that one of your wives is dead?" Now that a powerful senior had appeared to rescue them, every one of the disciples acted like they'd seen their mother, stopping just short of clinging to Shen Qingqiu's thighs and wailing. "There's no need to panic, nor reason to fear," said Shen Qingqiu. "The sect leaders know the situation within the barrier, and a large number of seniors have already entered the gorge to help. Protect yourselves well. We'll be able to break out soon." His words were like narcotic. The youths who'd been frightened out of their wits absorbed them and became at ease. "Shizun, what exactly was that thing?" asked Lo Binghe. When it came to proud immortal demon ways demonic beasts, he'd really asked the right person. Shen Qingqiu spoke with great familiarity, like he was listing his family treasures. "It's no surprise you've never seen one. That was a ghost-headed spider. Mean-tempered and terrifying to behold. It can mimic the sound of crying infants and use that to lure prey. Once the prey approaches, it uses the suction pads below its head to firmly grip the top of its prey's skull. Its 8 legs are incredibly sharp and can pierce right through bone, allowing it to drain the brains of living creatures." As Lo Binghe listened to this excruciating, detailed explanation, he was filled with both admiration and awe. "To think such an evil creature exists in the world. This disciple is truly too ignorant." Ever since Lo Binghe apprenticed under Meng Mo, Shen Qingqiu had been able to provide him with less and less guidance on martial and sword techniques. This rare chance to show off as a master before his disciple secretly left Shen Qingqiu feeling an immense sense of satisfaction. Ugh. I need a burp. It was like he'd finally found his long-lost teacher's halo. You say it's not time to flirt, then call the guy sexy. He is sexy! He just is. It's just the truth of the matter. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. I have no idea what that is. What accent that is. I am wondering, how far can I get? I don't know, because it's so in the middle of everything, but I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this chapter, which Or, like, even get to the next stopping point. But scene break is what I mean. Oh dear. Damn, this guy sucks. Yeah. I don't know where. Cliffhanger time? It's definitely gonna be a cliffhanger. Oh, let's make it a cliffhanger. Okay, we're gonna make it a cliffhanger. Anyway. Where was I? God. Teacher's Halo. Teacher's Halo. Ghost head spiders are a demonic rarity, he went on. Being unsuited to the human realm's environment, it's been many years since any sightings of them, so naturally they don't appear in most reference guides. Next time you see one, remember to directly strike its temples. The one we just saw was a male, and that's fortunate. The females are even more terrifying. They hadn't yet said much to each other when more rustling came from the leaves overhead. One by one, heads suspended upside down from threads of white silk descended from the trees. Shen Qingzhou's expression completely changed. Ghost head spider cries attracted large numbers of them to encircle and attack their prey. He swept his fan, releasing a powerful gust of wind and snapping dozens of silk threads. The ghost head spiders smashed to the ground and thudded like overripe fruit. Go! Yelled Shen Qingzhou. Luo Bingke sprang into action. While the ghost-headed spiders were dazed and reeling, the entire group broke out into a run. Master and disciple, one in the lead carving a path, the other bringing up the rear, together sandwiched the bloated procession. The two ends slaughtered foes until it rained blood, the air thick with the stench of carnage. Ghost head spiders were agile and possessed incredible jumping ability, but as they flew and leapt through the air, the barrage of spiritual blasts fired by master and disciple punctured them like sieves. Ew. Once Luo Bingke knew how to deal with these beasts, it was like he had been blessed by divinity. He could practically pierce two or more in a single blow with his eyes closed. The scene overhead was a mess of blood and gore, anguished wails, and monstrous howls. Even with all they accomplished, in the end, there were still too many, and they proved impossible to defend against. Just as Shen Qingzhou started to worry about when that goddamn hack of a poison would act up next, he felt his spiritual power stagnate, and his next strike came up empty. Truly, speak of the devil. Shen Qingzhou swiftly redirected the flow of his energy into a physical attack. With a flip of his hand, his fan sliced the ghost head spider lunging toward him horizontally in two. Luo Bingke had been paying keen attention to Shen Qingzhou's condition. He noticed something was off and asked, Shizun? It's nothing, Shen Qingzhou rushed to say. Focus on yourself. Fortunately, under Shen Qingzhou's leadership, they had already reached a particular area. As if the ghost head spiders had encountered an invisible barrier, they didn't dare advance and instead wailed and howled while falling back until they at last withdrew into the shrubbery and trees and vanished. Shen Qingzhou let out a sigh of relief. Delicately panting, her expression uncertain, Qin Wanyue asked, Senior Shen, why were those demonic beasts unwilling to approach this place? Have you forgotten what kind of Have you forgotten what kind of mystical flower grows in Juedi Gorge? Asked Shen Qingzhou. In truth, the one who'd forgotten was him. Forgive me for not remembering the flower's name. Luo Bingke very considerately remembered for him, speaking the name right away. Thousand Leaves Fresh Snow Lotus. Shen Qingzhou finally realized why he had been unable to remember the name. The number of mystical flowers named something snow whatever, or this and that lotus, was such that they were more numerous than old memes like Helk anyone could remember. Correct, said Shen Qingqiu. This is indeed the thousand leaves fresh snow lotus. This flower has grown within the depths of Juedi Gorge for thousands of years. Its spiritual qi is extraordinary, and furthermore, it is the natural bane of creatures from the demonic realm. It emits an innate barrier that repels demonic beasts. Therefore, as long as we're within its protected zone, we won't suffer too many attacks. The natural bane of demonic creatures? Lobinka suddenly asked. He'd been listening with rapt attention the entire time. Now intense sparks seemed to ignite within his gaze, which flickered faintly, with a particular quality. Shen Qingqiu thought it strange. Yes? Then, Shizun, could this spray of thousand leaves fresh snow lotus cure demonic poison? Lobinka asked. Oh, the baby, oh, the baby, oh, the baby. Shen Qingqiu was horrified. That look. Lobinka couldn't be. Hoping to pick the mystical flower and cure him, right? Stop! Do not pass go! The girl you're supposed to pick the flower for, Qin Wan Yu, is right next to us, watching, and you want to deflower it in her presence? And for a big, strong man to boot? Leave your wife some dignity, all right? We should handle the crisis before us first, Shen Qingqiu said quickly. But Lobinka wouldn't let it go. This disciple asks for Shizun's instruction. I cannot do what you imply. It cannot do what you imply, said Shen Qingqiu. Has Shizun tried it before? Lobinka pushed. If we don't try, how can we know? This disciple knows that Shizun doesn't want him to... Hello? Can this... A gnat landed on my page. Can you go away? Okay. Interesting. Has Shizun tried it before? Lobinka pushed. If we don't try, how can we know? This disciple knows that Shizun doesn't want him to take his chances. But if we don't take this one, this disciple will never be at peace. This really isn't the time. Why must you be so filial at this critical juncture? I can't tell you that the only way to completely cure the poison is to take a trip to Pound Town with you, okay? Shen Qingqiu couldn't say any of this in such terms. His expression became cold. Has this master indulged you such that you think you can willfully fool around even at a time like this? Ooh, he's scolding him. To tell the truth, over these past few years, due to Shen Qingqiu's strange desire to preemptively atone, along with certain other sentiments, he'd never spoken to his disciple with even the slightest bit of harshness. So once he did, Lobinka first startled. Then, as expected, he obediently shut his mouth, but his gaze remained obstinate, and he refused to sheath Jingjiang, obviously unwilling to back down. Just as the two reached a deadlock, the dense overgrowth of grass and leaves rustled, and a person stepped out. Behind him came a group of battered and exhausted disciples who had no doubt endured a bloody struggle. Oh, don't attack me. Ugh, my cat son is acting up because it's bedtime and I'm not in bed. The flower is called Purple Pompous Prize Petunia. It's something. Okay. On guard, Shen Qingqiu looked his way. As soon as he came face to face with the newcomer, he felt like a giant hammer from the sky had smashed into his temples. In truth, this person's appearance could have been considered proper and handsome. It was just that, in his every word and action, there was an inescapable air of sleaziness. At the sight of Shen Qingqiu, he smiled and returned his sword, flowing with light back to its sheath. Oh, I'm so excited! Okay, I'm fine, everything's fine. Okay, wait, in truth, this person's appearance could have been considered proper and handsome. Sure. 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 Oh my god. So it was Shen Shishang, he said. Meeting up with you puts my heart at ease. Is that the voice I'm gonna give him? Yeah, that's the voice I'm gonna give him. At ease? At ease my ass! With you here, I can't be at ease, okay? The person in front of him was the main culprit behind this catastrophe. Shang Qinghua, a character that Shen Jingzhou had mentally roasted before with, he goes to Tsinghua University. Well, I even took Beijing University exam. Was the Peak Lord of Anding Peak. That has a footnote. The word Shang can mean to go to in the sense of going to a university. So the name Shang Qinghua read aloud sounds like go to Tsinghua University. Shang Qinghua or Tsinghua University and Beijing University are two top schools sometimes referred to as the MIT of and Harvard of China. Yes, 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 yes. Give him a voice like a squeaky toy. I really should. I really should. Oh my god. Yes. At the same time, he had another important identity. He was a spy. A pawn planted many years ago by the demons, and he had orchestrated the disaster at the Immortal Alliance Conference. Long ago, Shang Qinghua had been only one of Anding Peak's many insignificant and nameless disciples. Then he'd been captured by the demons, who had forced him to become a mole. No. He hadn't really been forced. He happily took on the important task of being a mole without even a hint of discomfort. Secretly backed by the demons, Shang Qinghua's road became smooth sailing. He swiftly rose through the ranks until he actually attained the position of Peak Lord of Anding Peak. And starting soon, fuck off, but we're with Qinghua, we're with Qinghua now. Okay, I'm not gonna read anymore until we get Qinghua back. Okay, let's have a look at this again. I wanna look at my Qinghua. Oh wait, I can introduce shoot, what was that? What did I just do? I can introduce Qinghua. No, I can't. I don't have it. Hello? Fuck. I do. No, I don't. It's not in this. You know what? Let me get. Hang on. Just give me a second. Scum, villain, self-saving system. Wait. Is it? Do it? Huh? Wait, I might have this in a bookmark tab. Sorry. While the ad is going, I'm going to pull up Zhang Qinghua's reference because we need to see this mousy man. We need to see him. Okay, where am I? Twitter. Did I bookmark it? Please tell me I bookmarked it. All of it. There we go. There we go. Reference. Okay, this one only has these many people. Where are the others? There they are. There he is, my boy. There he is. Where is my shit? I forget where I put my shit. Okay. And we're also gonna get this guy as well. Oh wait, we should also have Gong Yizhao. Oh boy. Oh, I fucked up. Oh, I fucked it up. Oh wait. Oh, I fucked it up. Anyway. Oh my god, he's so hot. You'll see in a second. You'll see in a second, okay? Just give me a minute. Oh, we didn't even see Wu Qingfan yet. Okay. We'll see him later. When he comes up again, we'll put his reference up. I forgot that he had reference. I keep spelling his name wrong. I keep spelling Gongyi Xiao's name wrong. I keep forgetting the G in the middle of it. Okay. Here is Jinghua. I love him. I just want everyone to know that I love him so much. He's such a little bitch and I love him. And you'll see why, okay? He's so look at this little guy. Look at him. Look at him. So innocent. Wait, he couldn't hurt a fly. He couldn't hurt a fly. This guy? No. He didn't cause any harm. No. This guy? Oh my god, I love him so much. Alright. The ad's stopping real soon, so let's get going. This guy. This guy. Ugh. I am going to have to stop soon since there is another ad. So it's telling me to stop in 2 hours, but you know, we'll see. We'll see. Alright, there is Shang Jinghua. We love him. Where? What I say that has been a mole. He'd been a mole. However, he still wasn't satisfied. And why not? Because it was Anding Peak. As soon as you heard the name Stable and Settled, you knew it wasn't a place for ambition. The peak's tradition and speciality was completely in line with its name, logistics. So of course, the entire peak from top to bottom, including the Peak Lord, were like bricks, to be moved wherever they needed. Send some cheap laborers here today, assist with supplies there tomorrow. Mountain gate broken? Get Anding Peak to fix it. Missing a carriage driver? Get Anding Peak to send someone. This month's expenses over budget and you need money? Get Anding Peak to file a report. Even if this kind of Peak Lord's professional competence trounced that of Lanxiang and New Oriental, footnote, refers to Shandong Lanxiang Vocational School and New Oriental Education and Technology Group, Inc. They're well known because of their ads, so this is a derogatory reference. Could they be called impressive? Were they imposing? Were they cool, awesome, insane, badass, or hyped? Did they have the dignity of a Peak Lord? Even a talented, low-level disciple from another peak would have more to brag about. So, Shang Jinghua became a demon flunky without hesitation. He took it upon himself to help the demons conquer the human realm and committed all kinds of evil. All kinds of evil. This guy, no, this guy prefers the okay, sure. This guy caused all this evil? Nah. Anyway, we'll take him off now. Oh my god. Shen Qingzhou's stomach hurt as soon as he saw the guy. Shang Shidi, he said. As you approached, did you see a large demonic beast nearby? Shang Qinghua froze. A large demonic beast? There wasn't one. Shen Qingzhou's heart thumped. There wasn't? The large demonic beast in question was one of the plotline's key devices. In the original work, Luo Binghe's demonic heritage was exposed because someone released a Black Moon rhinoceros python at the Immortal Alliance conference. To protect the innocent, Luo Binghe engaged it in a life-or-death struggle. The Black Moon rhinoceros python's destructive power and body were both enormous. Of course he couldn't defeat it. So, Of course he couldn't defeat it. What to do if he couldn't win? Activate SEED mode. The fuck? Reference to an ability in a series Mobile Suit Gundam Seed that allows someone to enter the enhanced state. Stupid. How much evil could even fit in such a little guy? Exactly, couldn't even fit in him. Although something else can fit in him, I guess. I do it all because I'm evil? Okay. Good for you. In doing so, Luo Binghe exposed himself to Shen Qingzhou, Only then did Shen Qingzhou have the excuse to strike him down, eliminating one's companion for the sake of justice. And when he struck his student down, he enabled Luo Binghe to level up. Thus far, Shen Qingzhou hadn't sensed the demonic chi of the black moon rhinoceros python, much less heard its signature moonward howl described in enigmatic fashion as like that of both a python and a rhinoceros. I fucking hate this guy. Oh my god. Now, Shang Qinghua said he hadn't even seen it. Shen Qingzhou couldn't help being on his guard. Without this key plot device, surely the system couldn't ask him to suddenly strike Luo Binghe without any justification. He couldn't help but glance at that silent, unspeaking Luo Binghe. The child was still struggling with the matter of whether he should pick the flower to cure his master's poison. There was a stubborn glint in his eyes, as if he still felt a little discontent. Discontent my ass. Come on, I'm doing this for your own good. If you're going to pick flowers, don't give them to the wrong person, thank you. On my way here, we lost quite a few disciples from various sects, said Shang Qinghua, tone full of grief and lament. Oh, that's not grief and lament. On my way here, we lost quite a few disciples from various sects. There we go. They were all future pillars of the cultivation world. The person who released these demonic creatures is truly poisonous and shameless, underhanded and vulgar, cruel to the point of insanity. Shen Qingzhou was speechless. Weren't you the one who released those creatures? Are you really okay with using these lines to attack yourself? Although, if you don't mind, that's fine. I love him. Not gonna lie, if I heard a python howl, I'd be pretty terrified. Yeah, that's an interesting sound. He hadn't finished his mental roast when, without warning, the earth began to shake. People staggered and fell all over the place, terrified and confused. Their questioning voices merged to one. Shen Qingzhou's pupils contracted. There was no mistaking the sensation of a magnitude 7.5 earthquake. The endless abyss had finally been opened. The so-called endless abyss was on the boundary between the human and demon realms, a liminal space. It was full of peril and the unknown, twisting, tearing vortices through space, raging flames and burning magma were everywhere to be found. The disciples on the scene had found the entire way there. What? The disciples on the scene had fought the entire way there, and their bodies and hearts had long been completely exhausted. After that violent quake, most of them tumbled to the ground. Only Shen Qingzhou, Luo Binghe, and Shang Qinghua managed to stay standing. Since the endless abyss had been opened, that meant something demonic would definitely appear from the other side. The three held their breaths in anticipation, silently waiting and on full alert. The figure of a man slowly emerged from the shadows. I'm fine. As soon as Shen Qingzhou saw that ice-cold face and aloof expression, he knew who it was. He shot a glance at Shang Qinghua, whose whole face had gone white. Shen Qingzhou wanted to laugh, but he was unable to. Sure is. It sure is. Here we go, baby. Here you go. Have this feast. Have this meal of a man. Oh my god. He's so... I'm doing that as a short... Why? I'm normal about him. I'm so normal. He's so fucking hot. So beautiful. I don't blame Shang Qinghua for anything he does in this whole fucking series. Even though he got so many people killed just now, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Looking respectfully? I'm looking disrespectfully. Very disrespectfully. God damn. I'll put his reference up in a bit, but yeah. We'll have that in a second. Yes, I'm at the top of the page 238. Why would Lo Binghe's future subordinate, his magnificent right hand, and best buddy for committing evil deeds, murder, and mayhem, show up right here and now? That's gay? Nah. Mobe Jun. Or is it Mobe Jun? I've always said Jun. Mobe Jun was a pure-blooded demon, a supremely orthodox demon, second gen. What? Orthodox demonic second gen. In the future, he would inherit his family's territory on the demonic border in the north, and after that he would spend all his time appearing and disappearing at will, idling his life away, completely indifferent to everyone else. However, this maverick was destined to get beaten up by a Lo Binghe who had suddenly activated his overpowered abilities. Therefore, he would mysteriously capitulate to the protagonist to the point of letting himself be ordered about. From then on, Lo Binghe would have an exceptionally badass-looking errand boy and loyal sidekick. But to be clear, according to the original timeline, there are still 500 chapters before it's your turn to debut, Great Master. Who is this distinguished one? Shang Qinghua yelled as he rushed forward. Why have you come to this place? I love him so much. Isn't that your real boss? Wasn't he the one who ordered you to release those dangerous creatures into Dready Gorge? No, please go right ahead and keep pretending. Mobe Jun tilted his head. Half his handsome silhouette sank into the darkness, a chilling sight. Oh, who is this super hot evil guy? Who could have possibly I can't. He's so silly. He's just being silly. With a half-hearted flick of his finger, he flung Shang Qinghua into the air with sudden force. Shang Qinghua crashed into an old tree and fainted, blood spurting unceasingly from his mouth, spurting until Shen Qingzhou couldn't help but sigh with respect. Such effort, such dedication. Bro, you sure do a lot for your career. Bro, indeed. After paying his respects, he sighed again. He'd known it would go this way. In the end, he would still need to step in. Holding his sword before him, Shen Qingzhou spoke, neither humble nor haughty. A demon? This line was pointless bullshit. Anyone could see that those murky billows of demonic chi would have what the fuck? Anyone who couldn't see those murky billows of demonic chi would have had to be blind. God, I can't read. They just argued, and they now faced a powerful enemy, yet he still played the role of a human shield without hesitation. It would have been a lie to say Shen Qingzhou was entirely unmoved. But the more moved he was, the more he felt that what he was about to do was just too cruel. Shen Qingzhou wished that his student had done nothing at all. Binghe, stand down, he said. Lo Binghe did not reply, and he did not leave. He calmly met eyes with Mobe Jun, entirely unaffected by his imposing aura. Mobe Jun let out a of curiosity, like he'd found something that aroused his interest a little. What disciple has to shield his master? Snapped Shen Qingzhou. Oh shoot, what do I give his voice? What do I do for his voice? Okay, I already know though, but like I don't know if I can actually pull it off. Oh, okay. You are a disciple of Sangchong Mountain? Asked Mobe Jun. Disciple of Sangchong Mountain's Qingjing Peak. Lo Binghe, thanks this distinguished one for his guidance. Lo Binghe replied coldly, his tone sarcastic. Ooh, Lo Binghe. Mobe Jun sneered. The immortal acts unlike an immortal, and the demonic acts unlike a demon. Interesting. At this time, Shen Qingzhou fully caught on to something. Could it be that Mobijun's appearance was a substitute for the Black Moon Rhinoceros Python's role in the advancing of the main storyline. Immortal probably referred to Shang Qinghua, who was lying off to the side and playing dead, while occasionally remembering to cough up blood. Though clearly a cultivator, he tirelessly labored for the demon realm, indeed completely unlike an immortal. That was a fair accusation. As for the demon, who on the scene could this refer to, other than Luo Binghe? Shen Qingzhou's thoughts turned and whirled. He wasn't sure if Mo Beijun could really see Luo Binghe's hidden bloodline with a single glance. Luo Binghe saw his master's furrowed brow and feared he was angry at his own disobedience. Shizun, he hasn't let any of us go. He won't let any of us go. It'd be better to use all our strength and fight this battle together. That's true, but it'd also be fucking reckless. But Shen Qingzhou said, if you stay here, you'll lose your life in vain. Dying for Shizun or dying together with Shizun, either one is something this disciple will gladly do, said Luo Binghe. Mo Beijun scoffed. You do battle with me? The following, such foolish arrogance, was left politely unspoken. Good thing you didn't say it out loud, thought Shen Qingzhou. In 3 years, Luo Binghe will be able to single-handedly beat you until you can't get up, and won't you still become his diligent henchman? You'd really be slapping your own face. Fine, said Mo Beijun. Then let me see. Before he finished speaking, the killing intent in the air around them spiked. His steps agile and unreadable, Shen Qingzhou flashed in front of Luo Binghe. With his left hand, he tossed forth Shu Ya to hold off Mo Beijun for a bit, even if it would be largely ineffective. At the same time, with his right hand, he lifted Luo Binghe like an eagle would a chick, and hurled him away. Once he had sent Luo Binghe outside the range of Mo Beijun's demonic chi, he turned and met palms with Mo Beijun. When their palms connected, blood churned in Shen Qingzhou's chest, as if someone had punched him there. The spiritual energy in his body surged like it was boiling over. Though he had already formed a core in his cultivation, and his cultivation wasn't low, what was a golden core against the right hand of the future demon lord, Luo Binghe? But he had to go all out and try. Throwing himself into a desperate battle to the death without regard for his own life, was the only way to survive this. According to Shen Qingzhou's experience from 10+ years of reading all sorts of wuxia and xianxia novels, temperamental trueness had a modicum of respect for hard-headed types who fought bloody battles to the end and refused to admit defeat. That has a footnote. Shortened from the Japanese chunibyo, or middle school second year's disease, describes people who are edgy or have delusions of grandeur, used as a loan word in the Chinese text. I am aware, but you might not be. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. Okay. But they definitely didn't show any mercy to cowards and weaklings. Having been caught off guard and hurled away by Shen Qingzhou, Luo Binghe doubled back, unsheathing Zheng Yang. Mo Beijun spared one hand to flick away the white sword glare he threw. Zheng Yang couldn't withstand the massive influx of demonic energy, and in an explosion of white light, it shattered into pieces on the spot. Mo Beijun held off both Shen Qingzhou's hands with just one of his own, his power overwhelmingly superior. Bored, he blasted Shen Qingzhou away. Unusually inferior talent, he said. Foundation and techniques inflexible. Leave. So funny. Oh, I can take this down now, I think. I can take this down and put up his reference. Here we go. God damn! God damn, is this man fine as shit? Fine as shit? Fine shit. Okay. Shen Qingzhou said nothing. He wasn't some unmatched genius in the human realm, but his talent was still at least 1 in 1,000, and Sangchong Mountain's foundation and techniques weren't inflexible. They were unorthodox. Mo Beijun had described them as he would a pile of garbage. If the original Shen Qingzhou had heard this, he would have coughed up 3 liters of blood and run away crying to make a voodoo doll. Luo Bingke didn't care that his sword was broken. When he saw Shen Qingzhou injured by this palm strike, blood dripping from between gritted teeth, Luo Bingke's gaze frosted over, his aura changing in an instant. Sensing this shocked change, a cold flash of interest shot through Mo Beijun's pale blue eyes. He abruptly summoned a pure black sword of ice out of thin air. That one blade became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, instantly dividing into an array of hundreds of ice swords, which shot at the surrounded Shen Qingzhou, which shot at the surrounded Shen Qingzhou from all directions. Yes. Little Binka, and I took that personally. He did. He really did. No normal defense technique could possibly block these ice swords. They were crystallized from the purest demonic qi. Shen Qingzhou's spiritual qi was nearly exhausted. If his power collided with Mo Beijun's, it would be like a single spark against a towering wave. The end result went without saying. Just as the sword array was about to come down like sheets of rain, Shen Qingzhou snarled within his heart. I've done my best, but he still thinks I'm low-level trash. So what can I do? How loathsome! If I have to die, couldn't it at least be a better-looking way? After being stabbed with hundreds of black swords, I'm going to be a sieve. Who could bear to look? However, even long moments after, the pain of being skewered by thousands of swords did not arrive. Unless Mo Beijun had suddenly lost his mind and revoked the sword array, there was only one explanation. Only one person who could have blocked this attack, that seethed with murderous intent. Shen Qingzhou steadied himself and slowly raised his head, as expected. In the air all around him, the forest of swords had shattered. They'd splintered so completely that it was like they disappeared without a trace, leaving only a night sky full of black ice crystals. Reflecting the moonlight, they fell one by one. This scene could have been described as beautiful. However, Luo Bingke, standing in the middle of it, was the center of a blizzard that seemed to roar around him and within his gaze. He could only be described as terrifying. My boy all grown up. Shen Qingzhou collapsed next to a large tree, swallowing mouthfuls of blood. He circulated energy to heal his wounds while watching this earth-shaking showdown between 2 demon lords. The seal on Luo Bingke's blood had yet to be removed. Mo Beijun was only testing him, but still this battle darkened the sky and earth, blotting out all light. Raging waves of demonic energy overflowed from both of them, enough to cloak the entire sky. Wasn't this area within range of the 1,000 leaves fresh snow lotus? That was what the thing was called, right? Right. Demonic creatures were supposed to be afraid to approach its proximity, but as soon as this inescapable smog of demonic qi touched the flower, the snow lotus that brimmed with spiritual qi, wilted and rotted down to its roots. All the demonic creatures hiding in the dark crept out one by one, greedily inhaling what to them was a fragrant scent. Now we'll never get it right. Several ghost head spiders stealthily crawled onto a few of the Sangchong Mountain disciples, hairy legs poised to stab into their temples. Shen Qingzhou was nearly... Hello, go away. There's a freaking gnat. Did I inhale it? I don't want to do that. Shen Qingzhou was nearly out of spiritual energy and was unable to use spell attacks. He could only directly grab the beasts by their filthy tangled hair and throw them aside. He aimed before he threw, making sure to toss them toward the traitor, Xiang Qinghua. Meanwhile, Mobijun had pretty much finished testing Luo Binghe, and he was prepared to wrap things up, sending out one last blow. With a flick of his finger, he fired a stream of scarlet light at the center of Luo Binghe's forehead. Once the stream of light touched Luo Binghe's brow, it seeped into his skin, turning into a fiery red mark. Luo Binghe was lost to his bloodlust. He didn't know why, only that his head ached like it was about to explode, and he nearly collapsed to his knees. His entire body roiled with a desire to inflict savage cruelty. Unable to vent it, he threw out his hand, and as if shot out of a cannon, an eruption of demonic chi descended upon Mobijun. This last strike was extremely powerful. I'll put that away now. Yet, Mobijun waved it away with one hand, a bit surprised. Not bad. Ignoring whether Luo Binghe was in a state to understand him, he continued. The human realm isn't where you belong. Why not return to your origins? Oh, fuck off. Dog is trying to get in. Now Shen Qingqiu was finally 100% sure. Mobijun's sudden appearance was indeed a substitute for the Black Moon Rhinoceros Python, but compared to the original, Mobijun had done a far more thorough job. He'd actually directly removed the seal suppressing Luo Binghe's demonic blood. After completing his task, he turned right around and left. This NPC really was so straight to the point, not a moment spared, completely in line with his modus operandi in the original work. He'd show up wherever Luo Binghe needed him without rhyme or reason. His actions were just that forced, a total maverick, needing not a shred of logic. Yes. Speaking of forced, that could only be how Shen Qingqiu would face his next task. The last level. And I think that is where we're going to end today. Because, yeah, there's still quite a bit more until the scene break. So, is there quite a bit more? Yeah, there's like 10 more pages. Oh, dog. Okay, I need to write down where I am leaving off first, so I don't lose it. My little notebook. Ah. Ha 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 ha. Got that. Nah. Okay. This is probably a stopping point, but thanks. I know. We're gonna have so much fun. We're gonna have so much fun next week. Okay. I guess that is where we're ending. I would continue, but I am very hungry and I do need to go pee, so I will be stopping here today. Oh man, I love this book. Okay, buddy, okay. Anyway, look out for my sticker sheet in the future. I don't know, I kind of want to... Because VGen's shop is a thing, and they say that physical goods are going to be soon, so I might consider that as my, like, form of producing producing of I don't know what it's called. Stickers. Anyway, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be great. I kind of want to do a sticker sheet for like every series that I read. It'll be fun. I can do one for you. I will not do one for fish because fuck fish. Literally. The betrayal hurt me real bad. But yeah, anyway. Aww. Oh, okay, never mind. This is fine. Please promote it here again when finished, cause if I have money, yeah, I will. I'll show you all the finished project once it's done, and then I'll let you know you can get it once that happens. But yes, I need to go to the bathroom. So thanks for joining, everyone. I appreciate it. Should we raid someone? Let's see who is live right now. Who is? Ooh, so many people are live right now. Okay. Oh shit. Who do I choose? I know who I'm choosing. But yeah, YouTube chat. Thanks for being here. If you want to, I don't know, go to Twitch, you can raid, but I can't raid on YouTube yet, so yeah, that's how it is. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Let us raid Taki. Sorry, I get aggressive with my friends. I'm put my headphones on right now. So yeah, we're gonna raid Taki. That'll happen in a moment. Sorry, I need to get my headphones on to be prepared to talk to my friend. Beep 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 beep. But yes, have a good night, and I will also tell Taki, Catboy to Catboy. Yeah, okay. I'll see you later. Goodbye.